haven't actually shown, including Nativz at points, which I think could be a bigger factor here. So I'm not going to jump to conclusions. I think this game can really go either way. Maybe you look at the players in the game and you're like, okay, well then, surely Nativz, right? Like on paper, this is like a Nativz free, like for free game. It could end up being that way. But again, Lucent have been playing in a way which isn't always, over the top greedy. It isn't always, high risk, high reward. But they get the job done. They've been getting the job done so far. We'll see if this has been about strength of schedule or whether or not it's about Lucent being a very good team.
Well, we're into picks and bans, as you can see on your screens already. Gwen, Diana, Hecarim, Twisted Fate, and Galio. Really, Nativz don't like those global champions. 2 of them already being removed, or pseudo-global with the likes of Galio. But it looks like there's nothing too strange. Marksman, notably, haven't been touched just yet. So the Jinx, the Caitlyn as well, unless Nativz take that away in the final ban. And the Jhin, we saw it being disgusting last time around, still all up and available.
Yeah, and I think Jhin as well, particularly powerful pick for Yoppa. I think also for you, relatively proficient at the champion. I'm not sure whether or not he really prefers it, and I mean, I guess we just get our answer out the gate. Gonna prioritize the center, and of course, this is something that Dem was very publicly speaking about in the interview, saying, this is a pick that we think on 12-2 is looking like it's going to be sort of S tier amongst the rest of the AD carries. Locked in here, first pick B1 for Lucent. We've already seen Fuyu pilot, didn't look too terrible at all, and we'll see what Lucent want to do with this lane, whether they want to go down the same route they did last time with fasting, but they want to go down a more traditional route. For now, Nativz sticking on this sort of red side, Karma R1, R2, something we've seen them do time and time again. We know Joppa plays it, we can assume Clocks plays it, and if a team's willing to put Karma AD, you can typically assume that they probably play it in all 4 positions that it can go in, though, it's never nice to jump to conclusions until you outright see it, and I think you can probably round this out with an AD carry match, or you can just go the full scaling route and just say, okay, we're going to blind pick the Corki, and just see whether or not it gets punished. And I feel like, having known Previous for a little while, not only personally but professionally, I feel like he would be the kind of coach to allow his players the freedom to pick something bonkers into the Corki. Like we saw yesterday, of course, the Kai'Sa was hovered by Ericsson last game, and then, of course, yesterday we saw Eminence absolutely demolish Eminem with that counter pick. Where we get to see it here is, of course, a different question entirely, but I think that's now why we understand more of the TF and the Galio bans. It's not about necessarily the laning phase, it's about shutting down the ability for Lucent to move to those side lanes, whilst Corki doesn't really have that same freedom of movement. And Lucent, they just say, okay, you've got this scaling mid, you've got Karma on the map right now, we're not too fussed about whatever jungle you go, because we know we're going to have a winning 2v2 jungle matchup if we go this Lee Sin syndrome.
Which is exactly what they've locked in. So now it's on Nativz to decide if they're going to jungle. They will decide that very quickly, as it's going to be the J4. We saw it last game as well. Didn't have the most success, of course, on the losing side, but a bit of early aggression is always liked. Now Nativz will pretty much know what they need to ban away, taking away the Fresh, so denying that more traditional support away from the center might look to get rid of one of the more traditional fasting options potentially as well.
Yeah, if I'm Nativz, I'm maybe looking at Set as my next best option, unless they want to go down a very traditional route, and I like this from Lucent. At the moment, you're probably looking at support. Nativz already banning out supports. Karma's on the table, and it could still go into Clocks' hands, so we're not going to touch the support pool. We're just going to remove away things that we know Lundorf can play, and play efficiently. Gangplank, we've already seen Lundorf play that pick. Very, very strong on it. Not going to have his hands on the Gwen like we saw against Munster either, because that was banned out in the first phase. So honestly, if you're going to go for another sort of global mid, you could go down the route of Ornn, but they wanted to remove away the lane bullies, which says to me Castrulan is going to probably be on tank duty here, given the fact that Jace was removed away on top of that Gangplank.
So on Nativz to decide where they're wanting to take the counter pick, whether they show the Marksman just so they have that flexibility with the Karma still on the table going into that final pick, or whether they want to go something a little bit different and maybe lock in a support slash top. Probably not slash mid because the Corki already exists, but we'll have to wait and see where they're going. And it's going to be the Ziggs, so that's going to be going down into the bot lane, you've got to imagine. But Karma could still go top, could still go support. Yeah,
this is the thing with a team like Nativz, man. I feel like this, this could actually be Lundorf's Karma, assuming the matchup is actually good for it. So I think Lucent, then you really need to pay good attention to what they're looking to the top side. I'm not sure if Castrulan actually really leans on things like carry things like the Camille. If he does, maybe that could dissuade this Karma from going top, because then you've got super good setup. I think you've got a really solid shot at like locking down some of these carries as well on the bottom side. Leona's going to be the choice here for Zimba, so they're really giving Castrulan a lot of time to think about this potential blind pick here. And the thing is, the Leona should probably dissuade Karma from going on towards the bottom side. So now if you can pick an uncomfortable matchup for the top side, regardless of where the Karma goes, she's going to be very uncomfortable. And it forces Nativz into a position where they kind of have to pick their poison on where they want to send the Karma, and then also what they want to pair up with what this should inevitably be in the Ziggs. They're going to lock in this blind pick Mundo, and honestly, I don't mind it because there's not too much tank like shredding capability. Obviously, Corki eventually he will get to that point where he's absolutely demolishing anything in front of him. But it now does give Nativz the opportunity to, send that Karma to the top side if they want. It can go into Clox's hands, and they can give a counter pick over to Lundorf into this Mundo, which has plenty of counter picks. And so, right, we've already seen that Aatrox come out today into it. We could see something very similar. And we've seen the hover of the Camille once or twice, whilst Clox is going through a bunch of champions for Lundorf, and it will be that Camille.
We'll be taking that one off onto the top side ultimatum, keeping Mundo at bay. But now we see exactly where all the pennies are falling. Of course, it will be Clox taking that Karma, the Ziggs down alongside it with Corki in the mid lane and Camille up top. And it will also looking like... I'll try that one again. I'll try to get the words right again. It looks like it will be a more traditional Senna down on that bot side. You don't imagine that Zimba's going to be doing too much farming on the Leona, but I've been wrong before.
Yeah, been wrong before. I feel like this is probably going to be farming Senna. Of course, on 12-2 still has that pretty good soul drop rate for killing creeps, so doesn't actually have to fast per se, so I'm expecting that to be the case. Never know though when we get into game whether or not Fuyu has gone for the sickle or the longsword start. That will obviously give us our answer. But yeah, Nativz, I think, coming out of the gate here in the early stages of the game, they're going to have to play really, really safe. I think they lose the mid-jungle 2v2. I think they lose the bottom side 3v3 as well. Unless the setup is, sort of beneficial. Snille comes in on some sort of counter gank angle. Lucent have already used their cooldowns, that kind of nature. But other than that, I feel like Lucent kind of top to bot. They've got very strong matchups to play around. I think they can leave Castrol on an island for a while. And there's going to be that sort of break point in the mid game where Corki isn't quite online just yet, and Mundo actually is at that sort of level 11 to level 13 mark, and they can really leverage the front line there, assuming Castrol doesn't get put very far behind. But I feel like the focus of this game should really be around the mid lane, should be around the bottom side. And Nativz, they can pin down this Mundo, and I feel like it's maybe their only true lane of setup, so maybe that's where we see them play towards. But for now, I'm expecting them to probably just, stem the bleeding as best they can, assuming Lucent play their comp to its fullest extent, and just try and wait for that Corki to get online and use the wave clear of that Karma and Ziggs.
Yeah, I was going to mention the wave clear is really, really nice from Nativz this game, so Lucent could find themselves a lead, but whether they'll be able to take down objectives is going to be another question entirely. But two very interesting drafts, and for Lucent, I think Fantasy is going to be absolutely pivotal. Because you said mid and jungle 2v2, got to be favoured for Lucent. Bot lane 3v3, probably favoured for Lucent unless Snille can get a really nice situation or like play in the right circumstances. But a lot of that's going to be on Fantasy and what he can do to leverage those advantages to make sure that they pay. Because in the mid 2v2 in the jungle and the bot lane 3v3, the only player who's in both those situations is going to be Fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. So Fantasy's going to have to pilot the Lee Sin to near perfection. I think he's had a pretty solid set of performances throughout the split so far. Whether it's been on the Viego, whether it's been on the Lee Sin, he's played another Lee Sin game as well. So we know he's very much capable on this pick. Definitely going to have to play show a very strong performance out to date. But I think, again, he's got the setup from the lane, he's got the scatter of the week from Syntax, who's also been having a very strong showing. And then, of course, the bottom side as well. Senna plus, of course, the Leona. I don't think you can really have much more CC in the bottom side out of a lane duo.
Well,
go on, prove me wrong.
You could play Sejuani Braum.
I hope the game's ready, so we... I don't want to see your face anymore.
Bro, please, come on. This is game 2. We have 5 games this evening. You have to get used to it. Because NLC Division 2, new year, new me, he says, having been on last week. But for these two teams, both undefeated. One of them is walking away with a 4-0 record. One of them is dropping their first game. I'm very, very interested to see which of these two teams can take it all, because from the pre-match analysis, you seem to be relatively impressed with what both of them are bringing to the table.
Yeah, I think, there's merit to both, right? I'm not going to... if this is a different team that would have brought Nativz draft to the table, I would definitely be a little more skeptical. But I feel like Nativz, they've shown, they're very much capable of executing even slightly more complicated comps than what are typically traditionally brought in Div 2 games. So I'm not going to jump to any conclusions on whether or not I believe the draft is, outright good, outright bad. It's definitely unorthodox. But again, seen Nativz pilot those ones out already. 2 victories. And as for Lucent, I feel like, it's a little more sort of box standard, easier to break down, right? You've got the mid jungle winning duo there. You've got the bottom side of loads of setup. And the early game prowess of those champions can't really be matched by what Nativz have right now. And I feel like for Nativz, it's probably going to be about the top side for the most part. Setting up Lundorf for success. Trying to bully this Mundo a little bit whilst he's very vulnerable early. Try and break off that shield as well. So they can get the double sort of hook shot and knock up CC going. Because once Castruden blows that flash in the early stages of the game, Mundo is very squishy. You would be surprised, and especially with the Ignite coming out from Lundorf, can be easy to cut down even post 6 with that maximum dosage. The healing might not even be there for him.
And this is something that Winter was talking about in the interviews that we just had earlier. Is Lundorf going to try and get a bit of poke and actually asserting a lot of dominance, takes a tower shot. She needs to be a little bit careful, but ease of execution when your team's not performing well is always a great band-aid to try and get things back on track. And when two teams are performing exceptionally well, just having the team composition that's a little bit more straightforward.
Yeah,
can be massive.
It can be massive. I think when you've got two teams as good at execution as they have been, I think it may not even matter. Now we've got this topside dive going. Castruden has flash.
Castruden gonna burn though. He goes down first. Blood goes over to him though, as it's a 1-for-1 exchange.
All right. I mean, Castruden doesn't blow his flash. 1-for-1s with Snillate a little bit. Maybe miscoordinated on the dive entirely. Doesn't go fully the way that Nativz want. I think maybe they were looking for Lundorf to tank, just because he can hookshot out afterwards, get the CC going. But they find him. He misses the wave. I think that's the crucial part. And Lundorf gets out with the kill. Plus they blow Syntax's flash. And take a look at the mid lane. Ooh, a little bit of an engage here. Take a look at the mid lane. Fantasy has to pick up this wave here now because that Syntax missing that CS. However, he's still a wave up on Corki. He was having an absolutely fine time in the lane either way. So I think it's more about the sum of the spells. The fact that you lose that teleport. Syntax now has to find a more reasonable way or place to base. As we're getting a zoom in here. What cannon? Is that we're sad about the cannon dying? Yes. Okay.
I was just waiting for a response from the producer, but the cannon is secured by Syntax, so don't worry, Reed. That's fine, as Castruden will also secure his cannon.
And so did Lundorf.
Yeah, everyone's just last hitting cannons today, which is not something we can always say.
Except Corki.
Except Corki, yeah, which, isn't always optimal. But Lundorf needs to be a little careful, has support in the wings, as Snow looking to sneak into the alcove and
but that's what he was looking for though. Lundorf has the shield off Castruden, so the CC can actually come in. A little bit audacious on the positioning, maybe. Yeah. But the wave is freezing in, so now all Snillate really has to do is kind of just feign that he's on the top side for a little while. Lundorf might try and base, come back out. But I think maybe that time of the gank is done now. Is Lundorf actually sticking around? Mundo can deal almost that damage in a burst combo, but I don't think Lundorf is going to give Castruden the opportunity to do that.
Doesn't look like it, giving a lot of respect and hanging around under tower. Just to make sure that no shenanigans take place, and when you've already been on the performance end of a questionable dive, you don't want to be losing out under tower as well. But Lucent will be moving towards this dragon and securing it. First one of the game will be the mountain. Not too impactful, but not bad to have. And it will be Hextech coming on through as our second. But a very cagey affair in these opening few minutes, as both teams, except for that top lane play, have really struggled to find anything.
Yeah, true. And I mean, I suppose you can kind of say that more or less probably benefits Nativz in terms of, getting that Corki to the Iron Breakpoint. Same thing for the Camille, right? We didn't really touch on the Camille scaling. Still very, very powerful. But we've got a potential play on the bottom side.
Simba's rooted up and still moving on through.
Nice
Gets knocked back by the satchel. But will dive through onto Jarvan, dodge away from the knockup. And now for you, looking to turn the damage around. Fancy is moving in from behind. But won't be able to find anything except a quick way out. As Lucent, it was a 2v3, but they were just as close to finding a kill.
Yeah, but I think the issue is the wave was a little bit too big as well. On the Lucent side, it kind of stacks up on the native front. And yeah, funny little interaction there, just because the way that Zenith Blade works, it brings you behind the target in many instances, because it's coded to always hit the furthest away target. It seems like, that Zenith Blade kind of just brought him behind Snillate, and Snillate kind of EQ'd, trying to maybe anticipate where Leona would pop out. Didn't quite find the mark, and it leaves for a little bit of an awkward flash away. And they didn't even get Fuyu or Zimba's flash, and that's probably like the worst feeling about going for a play like that. So for now, Lucent's bottom side very happy with the position they're in, and they're actually going to just send Fuyu and Zimber up to the top side now. And of course, Kashrudan to the bottom side, and there's no teleport from Lundorf, so what I expect to happen is, yeah, already beating me to the point. Clocks will be sent to the top side, Lundorf will stay up here, and Ziggs will just be on the bottom side to match Kastrulan, which honestly, I think when you talk about maybe how the XP distribution goes, I think Naves will be okay with Ziggs getting some solo XP for now. The wave is also slow pushing into him. Maybe a little bit peeved that, of course, the Camille might have to share some XP here and there, but at the end of the day, having Camille towards this Herald fight going to make a lot more sense. Ral as well, also going to be basing right now, probably going to pick out the package coming out of base. And we should see some kind of scramble here for this Herald. As Lucent eyeing up, they're going to start up. And there's teleport coming through with the package on Ral, so let's see how this one goes, because Yoppa, it looks like, actually moving up as well. I'm not going to bother teleporting to the mid lane tower, just going to manually walk up.
There's a fight in the offing you've got to feel, but both these teams just kind of walking away from each other. Nativz will adopt the Rift Herald and will start not even necessarily doing it, just slowly whittling it down. Fancy's moving forward, looking like he wants to try and grab a steal. Of course, Lucent is one over this, but look at the backside. The damage coming on through. Camille was there as Fancy dives away. The damage going through is pretty big on both sides, though, as Lundorf picks up the kill. Lucent are routed as Fancy gets sniped out. Kastrulan trying to get Syndra away, but calling the ultimatum won't be able to do so, but he will himself be able to escape. Grabs a kill onto Clocks at the back, but that was the first kill of the fight for Lucent. Absolute disaster.
Yeah, I mean, it goes entirely in Nativ's favor, and I think it's just great setup, great flank from Lundorf as well. And they just understood. It just seemed like they were waiting for Lucent to sort of funnel themselves into this choke, and as soon as they were in that position, go, 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 green flag, Nativz, pull the trigger. And it's an absolute whitewash. Really great understanding of when to pull the trigger for that team fight to work out for them. They understand, you know, the strength of champions right now definitely leans towards Syndra, towards the Lee Sin. But if they can find a team fight combination like that, they know they can always win. It's just really smart from Nativz to just recognize when they can go. And Lucent just kind of left wondering where they went wrong in that team fight, likely.
You could see a replay potentially. Yeah, we're going to see it on your screens right now, in fact. And Jamada, where did it all go wrong?
I mean, it's just this flank here from Lundorf, right? He finds his way onto Fuyu immediately. And yes, Fuyu does get out with the flash, but eventually just sniped away by Riley on the backside. And I mean, again, it's just about that choke point. As soon as Lundorf is in that position to find that hook shot, the rest of the team can just follow up, because there's nothing that Lucent can really do about that anymore. And Fuyu almost dies in CC. Zimba, not really tanky enough, right? He's actually gone the Glacial Augment as opposed to the Aftershock. It's a very common thing we see on a lot of tank supports, of course. It just meant they were very free targets. Lee Sin, Syntax, both kind of left on their own devices against the remainder of the Nativz lineup.
And with that, Lucent lose out on any potential lead they might have had, and it's all about Nativz at this point. Not too much, though, it must be mentioned, but Rift Herald in the pocket of Nativz now means that they're going to have that potential investment going forward. Dragon will be up pretty soon. Lucent grabbing themselves priority to at least put that one on the map for themselves, and grabbing 2 dragons, setting themselves up for an early soul if they can keep some control would be nice. But after that last fight, they've got to be a little bit worried, and looks like no one's going to contest this Hextech Dragon, which is good because it does pack a punch.
Oh, it does pack a punch. Seems like Lucent will have the opportunity to maybe stack up some dragons, but Nativz, you can see where the focus is. I'm going to get Lundorf ahead on the side lane. Going to disrupt the Herald, you would imagine. Still late. A little bit puffing a little bit awkwardly forward. Ocean Soul and Rift will be what's offered up to both of these teams here. As actually it looks like Lundorf just wanted some help delivering the wave, potentially. Or maybe they want to drop the Herald, unsure about a dive. Taking too much time. Hard to say. Herald will be held onto for a little while. Still around 2 minutes left on that timer for Nativz. So plenty of time to decide where they want to actually place that objective.
Yeah, they've still got time to move on around, and when it is on your jungler, you've got that freedom to make those decisions. Lundorf gonna be able
it's
to
fine.
move
We didn't
away
see
there.
it.
Yeah, it was, you know, it was.
Yeah, move the camera away from Lundorf. It's fine. We didn't see it.
Dragging away, but
Yeah.
down on the bot side, Senna and Ziggs keeping on parity, of course, with that farm. For you dying and Ziggs grabbing 3 assists won't actually make too much pain between these 2 bot laners, and it's always good to see something a little bit less traditional. With, I mean, Ziggs and Senna have been more traditional
Always
the
in
past
and out
couple
of
of
the
years.
meta, yeah.
But you know, it's nice to see something a little bit different rather than, you know, the Jinx, the Caitlyn, the Jhin that's been going around.
Yeah, no, I agree. Always nice to see these more unique picks come out. And it shows that teams, they really do lab when they scrim. Take the opportunity to, pick up these more, unpracticed against picks. Because, I'm sure a team like Lucent, they would have played against all the S tier AD carries already, right?
Of course.
If this is something like an Aphelios Karma, yeah, they've done that. Been there probably before. Something like Ziggs Karma, maybe a little less common. As I think, actually thinking back, this is also something that Drop and Clocks did in UKLC Summer as well, last split. Karma and Ziggs at the same time. So no strangers to the lane combo, but there you go. Herald will finally be dropped. That's a Demolish. 2 plates already go down to Lundorf quite quickly just because of the rune and the fact that the plate was already so low. And now they should be able to guide this one home and probably finish off the tower with Lundorf. Gonna try and get this one down as quickly as possible. Kashrulin doesn't feel confident enough to walk up to maybe just snipe away the eye and make the tower start hitting Lundorf and Snille. Tower goes down. Lundorf already on the Divine Sunder, and it's being matched right at the push on the bottom side, but you can see he's only now hitting that second plate. It's actually going to be shared by Fantasy and Fu, as they'll try and strip away what they can, but the gold definitely in Nativ's favor, and I think going crucially where they want it to at the moment. Lundorf and Snille probably going to be used as a bit of a bridge for Yopper and specifically Corki as well. Rael. They should be sitting quite comfortably.
It does look very, very comfortable for Nativz right now. Of course, there was that one burst of energy from both of these teams, but past that, it's all just been slow, methodical, tempered gameplay. And Nativz, I know we haven't necessarily called them those things going forward this split because they've been very explosive. They've been very good. They've been guild checking on occasion. But in a game at the top of the table, this is the kind of performance that maybe you'd be impressed to see if you're a fan of this team. Because they're showing, yeah, we're giving respect to this team that's also undefeated. We know that we've got the ability to play a composition like this, but maybe the ease of execution is against us very slightly. Let's just win the team fight when it's offered to us, but past that, move around the map, grab ourselves small leads, and put ourselves in a great position because we know that we have options that will come online in a big way later.
Yeah, no, I think you said it perfectly. I think you've weathered that immaculately. Well, Nativz, they understand. They don't always have to pull the trigger like this, but they recognize, when they can't do it, that's obviously an opportunity. They felt very comfortable in doing so. And again, it's sort of like a choke point, right? That sort of position in between the side brush there and the Raptor camp. If Lundorf can go forward, get a nice hook shot, Jopron Clock's in a position to pincer on the opposite side. And I think this is what, over the course of the split might differentiate Nativz from other top teams. Sort of recognizing, I think it's a really big thing that a lot of teams sort of struggle with, recognizing when and when you cannot fight. And it seems like Nativz really, really on the ball with it right now. Though
I don't know if they were. They've been called out. Clocks has to flash away, but they will be able to grab the first kill of the fight as Karma gets cut down still. Looking to return. Rill taking the package out into the rest of his team, but it's a 1-for-1 trade. It was brave from Nativz, but it looks like they're not going to pay the price too much.
Yeah, they won't pay the price for now. Syntax dies because of the flash blown previously.
Lundorf, though, needs to be a little bit careful, but looks for the re-engage, gets the ultimatum, looking towards Fancy. Can he get the last cut down? No, he can't.
Oh, the Ignite's
Fancy's burning, but needs to be careful. Will survive. As Nativz actually lose out on the fight in the end.
Yeah, they lose out on the fight. I mean, I think Nativz, the original confidence of going for that fight, it looked like because Rael had the package, had to blow it defensively. So now, with Lundorf off the map, with Snille a little bit chunked out, and at a numbers disadvantage, I think Nativz might have to drop this one. They might have to give over this dragon. It's going to put them in a bit of an awkward position, of course. Soul point to Lucent so early on in the game is not somewhere you want to be against such a early, powerful composition. And you still need a couple more items to be online, but you can see cautiously approaching the chokes. You understand if Lucent hold them, it can be a bit dangerous, but I think
Dragon goes
they want to just maybe flip it.
Nil, though, because he might go in for it. He's not going to be able to secure it. It will be taken by Fantasy, setting up for Soul Point, and now they're looking to move forward, but Castrulin gets knocked back and will move back with the rest of his team. I don't think there's any chase coming through from Nativz. Soul Point, 5 minutes time.
Yeah, really nice decisiveness from Lucent, honestly. They just say, all right, they give Fantasy the will. They say, I'm confident enough to out-smite Snille on this one. Snille doesn't quite get in range. Smite goes over. Dragon. Soul Point now available to Lucent. Nativz, they should be able to take down this mid-tier 1 in response. But that one fight might cost them a lot more than they maybe originally anticipated. Top tier 2 bleeding a couple of waves here. You'll see Syntax just about catch some of the remnants of it. I think Nativz, it's going to be about the resource upkeep now for the next 3 minutes, really. You're going to base about a minute before this Ocean Dragon spawns up. So the next 3 minutes, see where the gold lies, how close Ral, Yoppa, and Lundorf all are to picking up their next items and components, because they're going to have to be on parry or more with Lucent in order to confidently match them. Though we've seen time and time again, Nativz, they've taken, you know, maybe fights that other teams wouldn't have, because they understand the conditions of how they want to fight, or how Lucent maybe can't fight, or other teams can't fight. And that will be the difference maker more than anything. But right now, Lucent, very, very comfortable. Ahead on the mythics, ahead on the items for now. But it's still Nativz with that gold lead. It's about how they end up using it, whether or not how they leverage the pressure of being that dragon away from Soul.
It's a massive, massive point, because while yes, they're one dragon away from Soul, that doesn't necessarily mean that the next dragon is going to be the big decider. Lucent could look to try and trade that for a Baron potentially, because you know that Nativz have to contest. Because if Nativz give up this Ocean Soul, ooh, that's a no bueno from me, Chief. But if Nativz are like, we're going to go and contest this dragon, they might just find a Dr. Mundo standing there like, psych, you fought, and Lucent could pick up the Baron Nashor, which, yeah, it's not the same as getting a Dragon Soul Super Rally, setting themselves up for an Elder, but it would be massive to try and get some objectives out of Snill's going to move on through. We've seen this dive before, but on the top side, and it might go just as badly, as they're going to lose one, they're going to lose two, it goes even worse. Lucent pick up a double kill for Fantasy, and we are praising Nativz so much for the discernment of their team fighting, but when it comes to diving, completely off the pace.
Yeah, completely off pace. I mean, I think not respecting the center global and the fact that Fantasy was just in the right place at the right time. Maybe even reading the map, had a little bit of information via the vision too. And just made it down there because Zimbo was even there and ready to assist. Now this is going to turn into a Herald in the mid lane. The charge should come down. I think, given Zimbo's positioning, they might even look for a little bit more. But this dive is not going to be on the cards because they will just get the tower for free. And this Herald should just drop before it gets this next charge off. But still, win for Lucent. They get this mid tier 1. It means they're going to be able to catch the wave slightly higher up come the dragon spawn time. And with that double kill, Fantasy might have even been pushed into Starax super duper early. It's like just a pickaxe. Could be pretty close to it. Actually, Reed, if we could get a look at the gold now, because I think at 90 seconds away from the objectives, this is where we really need to get our eyes on where the gold is, where these items are. So everyone's kind of just about based, spent most of their gold. Ryland Dropper could technically base for, like, you know, sort of Amptomes type bases, but I think it might not even be worth it at this point. You have to say, if you go back to the items now, you feel like, honestly, Nativz, I think I might have misspoke earlier. I said Lucent in a pretty good position with items. I feel like actually Nativz slightly edging it just a touch, but not by too much. I think Lucent should still probably be leaning on the strength of their champions, but again, if Nativz have the setup for it, right, the package should be available for this next dragon fight. I think that's going to be the key thing. Lucent checking their chokes, right, making sure they're not walking into chokes against the package, against the Jarvan, making sure they're keeping track of Lundorf. Those are the crucial things, and for Nativz, it's basically the inverse, right? Making sure that the package usage is good, making sure they pull the trigger if Lucent, you know, give them the opportunity, if they all clump up inside of a choke. And of course, Lundorf finding a good flank opportunity, and whether it be a teleport or a walk down, they have to find something. But here you go, package taken, 30 seconds until that dragon spawns. Grouping around the mid lane, and Lundorf also basing as well. Maybe, if anyone on Nativz has the gold to spend, up a second item. No, we just looked at the gold. He's not going to quite have Ravenous just yet.
But he's looking to back, certainly. Has teleport available, it should be said, cast Rulin as well. So they could look to go in. Syntax also has teleport, but is already with the team, so
he's got
need to burn it.
Alright, yeah, I mean...
himself. And there's teleporting into the pit now. Nativz have started up the dragon. They want to grab this one and deny it before any fight can take place, as Lucent tentatively moving forward, trying to get involved. Fancy off the back of the pit. But there's already Ludendorff. He's going to dive over, trying to play bouncer. Snil is the only one in the pit currently. As the
Oh, that's not good.
But the damage is being layered. Watch the dragon, though, as it's been taken. His fancy. But he gets dove onto it. Will be taken away by Snil as the fight kicks off in earnest. Lucent have already lost the objective. Will they commit to taking the fight as well? Castrulen in the pit gets cut down. Nice ultimate takes down Clocks, though, as Ludendorff dives back into the fight. Look at Roll on the backline. He's low, but it's a triple coming through from Camille. They're looking towards Zimba. Can he grab it? No, it's taken away by the Jarvan. It's a quadra for Ludendorff as Nativz take the ace.
The fight isn't as simple as we described it before we went into it, but I mean, it's just Ludendorff that kind of goes unchecked throughout, and it's one of the sort of criteriums that we talked about for Nativz. Finding those kind of key engages, those key hook shots onto the targets that matter. I think crucially as well, Nativz, they secure that dragon, they deny away the Ocean Soul, and now they should get so much more. The Baron should follow, and off the back of the Baron, you imagine those inners, that bottom side tier 1 as well, all standing gold waiting to be taken by Nativz. So much poke can come through from the Ziggs, from the Corki. The wave clear, you know, it's there kind of for Lucent. They've got the Syndra, they've got some of the range of the center, but it's not going to be immaculate. It's going to be very difficult to hold off against some of these Baron Sieges. Let's just keep our eyes on Ludendorff, because originally he starts off zoning Fantasy away, but he, I think, just wall hops over, safeguards in, or it might just be a Q take. No, so he gets inside the pit. He's on this dragon. You can see on the top side of the screen, Jarvan's, you know, a little more interested in the fight. He recognizes all of a sudden, all right, on the fight, and it's actually the kick of Fantasy that brings the dragon within execution range. I just don't think Fantasy was quite ready to smite in unison with that. You can see Ludendorff executes Castrulen, gets the hook shot onto the back, onto Syntax. And you can see Ral just untouched on the top side. Crucially, just getting those rockets in. Not quite able to finish off Zimba for the pentakill, but does find Syntax for the quadra instead. Spectacular fight by Nativz. A really good attempt by Lucent as well. Fantasy just not able to quite secure that smite, unfortunately, for himself and the team. Now leaves them against the Baron. And no Ocean Soul for at least another 3 minutes.
Which is going to be 3 minutes of pain for Lucent, 3 minutes of progress for Nativz as they look to take down that outer tower in the bot side, which they already have. Lucent looking to trade it up. But Nativz running down mid lane, grab themselves a second, have a pretty full wave, so could look to break onto this inhibitor tower. Remember, there's a Ziggs with a satchel, so that one's going boom. As Lucent move in to defend, the inhibitor won't be forfeit, but the inner tower bot lane will. And that's 4 quick succession towers taken across the map, 3 of them going the way of Nativz.
Yeah, in just about less than sort of 90 seconds of having the Baron buff, so that's a really, really fast-paced Baron power play for Nativz. No wave to work with in the top side, so it looks like they're just going to work with the bottom side for now. North has been sent towards the mid lane now to pressure that mid lane inhibitor, going to bring the wave along with him. Now with the poke of Corki and Ziggs, you imagine Lucent gonna have to play this one out very, very carefully, clear from a wave, but you can see now Ludendorff in the mid lane pressuring that inhibitor. Bit of a cat and mouse game here for Lucent. You have to commit to one place or the other. The issue is if you commit to the bottom side and you're not quick enough, Ludendorff takes the inhibitor, maybe comes down, just mops up the fight. If you commit to the top side onto Ludendorff, then you just lose the bottom side inhibitor and the rest of the team collapses. You maybe even just lose the game off the back of it. So holding right now, but that satchel's going to execute the tower. And they're going to lose this inhibitor.
They just played one out well. It means that you lose both. And yeah, they keep the inhibitor down on this bot side, but they lose it mid, they lose the tower, and now Ludendorff already moving up towards this top side where there's an inner tower that could be nabbed, grabbing himself some more gold, and the team running down mid. Actually, Ludendorff's not even that interested, just going to grab the recall and move on through. But very successful Baron buff, one of the most decisive I think I've seen so far this split in either NLC league that we cover here, and all credit goes to Nativz.
Yep, Nativz turned that one out spectacularly. And now I think you turn spotlight over back to Lucent. You've got a minute away from this Ocean Dragon. This potential soul. How do you even contest it now? Because you take a look at the items. Especially, I think the biggest thing to look at is Ludendorff, right? 3 items already on the Camille, 26 minutes into the game. So powerful. Already had a quadra kill in one team fight. If, again, Ludendorff goes unchecked, if the Camille goes unchecked, she just absolutely demolishes the backside here. And all the follow-up. It's been very consistent. We've seen it come through, whether it's Drop Up, whether it's Rylet, whether it's Snillate. They've all been on point, and now the package also picked up again for Rylet, whilst Ludendorff just pushes on this top side, uncontested. Nativz are really pulling Lucent apart on the map right now.
And they're holding firm in the river. Castrulan has to defend against Lundorf. Teleport is available for both top laners once again. It's both mid laners without, but they're sticking with the teams because Syndra flanks are not the one. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And it will be Nativz starting up the dragon once again, but Fantasy sneaking on through will be spotted out, but the steal might have to be the angle, but Ral is over the side with the package, and it's going to be the engage coming on through. It's from the bush, and Fantasy is dead. He's stealing nothing, as Lucent will back away, but the dragon has reset. Lundorf moving forward, potentially looking for a target, but won't be able to find one as Lucent are bunched up, looking towards their base. So for Nativz, it could be about pulling the trigger, but can't find Syntax, dodges away from the stun. As they move on forward, Snil has backed away to start up the dragon once again, just to take the opportunity off the table. But the inhibitor might be a more interesting prospect.
Yeah, 4v4. Nativz say they feel confident enough to just try and siege away at this inhibitor. Without the extra man of Jarvan, though, it might be a little bit difficult, and it is going to be just a touch. They will move away. They won't pick up this inhib for now. They do deny this Ocean Soul yet again. So there's 2 dragons to the good of Nativz. It was like Lucent, not necessarily running out of gas, but Nativz just aren't really giving them the opportunity to have any go button at all. I have to say it's been very stellar stuff from Nativz over the last 10 minutes or so.
Been an exceptional performance. Not perfect, it must be stated. There have been issues to iron out. Of course, we'll be chatting with both of these teams after the game, regardless of the result. So make sure to stay tuned as well. Do some dissection. Jabada will get his scalpel out. Ooh. Not the Sharpies anymore, not the crayons, but
okay.
He has to flash away. Lundorf, just so threatening, just in his presence that someone is having to be burnt just to stay away from this Camille, and it's definitely been the highlights player from this game so far. And with the way that the performance is continuing into these later levels, you've got to imagine that the Camille may well be decisive as they move forward towards the inhibitor.
And it's not the first time that we've seen Lundorf hop off this split already. The Gwen performance, of course, I think will stick in the minds of many, including my own. And right now, he's just pulling members of Lucent towards this bottom side, whilst the rest of Nativz, they're on Baron. They're starting this one up. Lucent, I'm sure they're aware, but it's about how they can actually even approach. Just being very slow with it. Not too sure whether or not they want to commit. No package. But yeah, I think they're just waiting really for just Lundorf to get an angle. As soon as Lucent commit, Lundorf just gets a free flank hit. However, Fantasy snuck his way all the way around. Snilly's looking for it. Oh.
Well, he's careful. Might have been caught out, but now Fantasy could be in a bit of trouble. But the rest of the team go the other direction. Snil will be able to get away, but the Baron is stopped. So not looking to grab that one. Maybe going a little bit low for their own liking and don't want to take the fight. But respect given by Nativz. Lucent can look to take over the area a little bit, but it would be brave for them to start it themselves.
Yeah, I think it would be very brave for them to start it themselves. I think just clear out what vision you can. Move away. Your inhibitors are respawning, but that's just another opportunity for Nativz to maybe go back into the mid lane and take them down. If they see some of these recalls come through, they might just make the snap shot decision to just start up this Baron yet again. I mean, Snilly definitely feels like it could be a thing.
Fantasy goes over. Don't know if he got spotted out. It doesn't look like it by Corki.
No. If you go over the wall at a particular angle, you won't actually see the player go over the wall into the bush itself. And of course, Center Art comes through because Lucent just have no vision around the Baron at all. So that's, technically a tool blown for now, but Nativz just really slow bleeding Lucent right now. They just don't want to be over eager in trying to end this and give Lucent the opportunity. Because I mean, we've seen signs like that from them before. I think particularly Yoppa's been the biggest offender of that, stepping a little bit too far forward when he shouldn't. This time around, maybe that's why Dem gave him Ziggs. You can't int on Ziggs if you're just throwing max range Qs.
But you can int on Ziggs.
But you can certainly int on Ziggs.
If you satchel yourself in.
Yes.
Which we have seen.
Once or twice.
But it's a question of what these last couple of fights are going to look like. You've got to feel like there's a couple of decent team fights left in this game as Nativz sneak into the bottom side jungle. Not necessarily where you'd expect them to be, which is exactly the idea as Lucent Simba could be the one. know he's there.
Dun,
Zimba, don't go in there.
dun,
Zimba,
dun,
don't do
dun,
it.
dun, 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 dun,
Zimba.
dun, 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 dun,
Okay.
dun,
Oh,
dun,
Zimba,
dun,
don't do it.
dun, 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 dun,
Don't.
dun,
Zimba.
dun,
Zimba,
dun,
no.
da-da-da.
Oh,
Da-da-da-da-da. Okay.
Okay, it's fine. I was so scared, but it's fine. Lucent, don't lose any members to that brush that was pregnant with death. And Nativz will back away.
Yeah, and Lindorf should be absolutely fine. Lindorf should be able to hook shot out if Lucent were to look for a commit. And Zimba will now freely be able to clear out the vision. Oh no, it's the sequel, Will.
The sequel's just much worse.
Da-da.
Okay, it's fine. Just a little poke.
You know, how does the original Jaws film end? They blow the shark up, right?
Yeah, they blow the shark up, right?
Yeah.
It goes in its mouth and then...
Funny wording.
Years, you know.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I saw. You know,
Green pie.
I think much like everybody else, watching that film as a kid very much made me afraid to.
Oh yeah, I didn't want to go in
foot in the ocean. Yeah.
Yeah, years essentially after seeing that film.
I don't know about you. Do you know what else? What other fear that particular film breeded in me? It was the you know, in swimming pools they've got that little cage because like it cycles.
Yeah.
Yes. That. But we'll talk about that later. As Lucent, they started out the Baron, but
that's fine. They're backing away. They want to hear the story.
yeah, they want to hear the story because Rao's got packaged.
Although
yeah.
actually on the base, maybe Nativz do not want to hear
Wow.
any such story as they grab an inhibitor, but they will back away as Syntax comes in to defend.
Yeah, I'm sure that one definitely resonates with quite a few people that have seen the any Jaws film really. I just don't go in the damn water really, right?
Yeah, it's just why would you? It's not safe in there.
It's not safe in the ocean. Ocean's a very scary place.
Jellyfish as well.
Yeah.
Seaweed's pretty gross when you think about it. Like,
True. Tastes nice though.
Nah. Don't give me this nonsense. Seaweed's grim. Do you know what I want? I want lettuce that's been dunked in salt water.
Yeah.
Miss me with that.
Yeah, sure. Give it to me.
I'm just gonna get your salad and just like scrape it through a swimming pool and then give it to you. That's your dinner. That's stupid. And it's stupid. Don't do it to yourselves, people. I will admit I've been stressed because I did vegetarianism for January, and it was more of a struggle than I'd like to admit. I'll give it up.
Yeah, my Caribbean heritage could never allow me to be a vegetarian even for a moment. I just can't do it, man.
It's actually hard. It's not even like the meat. It's just the stuff that has random meat in it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably the more difficult part, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like you can do vegetarianism and stuff, but I just feel like your food lacks a little bit of sustenance. That's a great scat of the week, actually.
Lundorf jumps onto Syntax though, gonna get chunked down by Syndra from across the map. And you know what? The Camille might be a little bit overextended. Tries to dive onto Syntax, will be resurrecting though with that Guardian Angel. It's a 2v1. Can Lundorf get away? Can Lundorf fight?
More hook shot.
These are the questions. Looking for a route out. Gets the cable shot. I don't know about the hitbox, but will escape. But Nativz taking the opportunity will look to start the Baron up. Castrula needs to turn back around, but they need to commit 2 to stop him. The fight is kicking off in the river as well, as Yobba needs to be a little careful getting dived onto. Fancy coming onto Sniller, who will be able to flag and drag away. Castrulin has teleported, but now they've left Syndra all alone in the bot side with the Camille. So the Baron's not a situation.
Oh, if Syntax walks up too far, I mean, I guess Scat of the Week's always going to be there for the hook shot, so it's okay.
It's okay. Castrulin was up there. Lundorf is gone. And at the end of play, nothing's really achieved.
Yeah, nothing ends up happening. Just a bunch of ultimates traded back and forth. But I think the crucial thing, look at the flashes from Lucent. We didn't quite get to see the fight in earnest, but Fuyu, Syntax, Zimba all blew their flash. So it does mean now any engage that comes through from Nativz, especially, I mean, this dragon, it's soul for both teams. No summoner spells, Cataclysm a lot more potent. If Ral is going to have the package available, I'm actually not too sure about the timing, because I know he had it for that potential Baron. But I think the spawn time should just about be in sync. Yeah, there you go. We got it. The hover, 60 seconds, the cooldown on that. So you will have that package available. I don't know if Lucent, without those summoner spells, I just don't think they can actually contest. I think they just get wiped. but it's a fight they're gonna have to take. You don't want to give over a 4-dragon Ocean Soul. It just doesn't seem right.
It just doesn't work, does it? It's not really playable. For me, this is the question that we're going to have, because the whole narrative of the game is going to be decided on the next couple of fights. Because if Lucent win the next couple of fights and they win this game, Nativz were slow and indecisive. If Nativz win the next couple of fights, they were careful and respectful.
Sure.
Because that's just how the cookie crumbles.
I don't know. I mean, I think you can still use that for Nativz and just say maybe Lucent just get their opportune moment. As Lindorf, he's taking bites out of Castrulan, but there's no anti-healing.
Yeah, he's regenning.
Yeah, he's regenning so much. Maximum dosage is a lot of healing, and now Baron start definitely a little bit audacious, if you ask me. Baron's going to go down really slow without Corki, who's going back to pick up the package now, so get a look at the minimap. I'm not sure if we can swap back over to regular vision because never mind.
They've been caught out. It's Snill who's going to be taken low. Jumps back into the fight though. Gets a lot of healing actually. As Lundorf will dive into the fight, taking over the Cataclysm as the fight is big. There's the package finally. It looked good for Lucent for a moment, but members turned up. Nativz turned up. And there's the ace coming on through. Almost Castrulan will look to escape, but Yoppa's already got into the base. The damage is huge, and the rest of Nativz, they're going to take down raid boss Mundo Castrulan. I'm sorry, buddy, but your stock is low as Nativz take him down. It's the ace, it's the base, it's the undefeated streak continuing for Nativz as they take down Lucent. In a cagey affair, I say, a second before the inhibitor trolls. But they'll still win. It's fine.
Still going to pick up their 4th win. 4-0. They give Lucent their first loss. And I think, yeah, just came into this one with a little more discipline, I have to say. I think, you know, especially that first Herald fight was so impressive to me. They just recognized if they can give Lundorf the opportunity to find that flank angle and just let Lucent walk into the choke. Lucent have to approach this Herald whether they like it or not. And as soon as they were enough members were in the choke, they just pulled the trigger. And just generally speaking, the fight discipline from then on out, the team fight, the actual outright 5v5 team fighting was just so strong from Nativz. It felt like Lucent, not that they didn't understand the conditions to winning their own fights, but Nativz just understood theirs better and always had the front foot in that regard.
Well, we've got questions to ask both teams, which is convenient because we've got 2 interviews coming up. The first one will be after a short break, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few.